Hey everyone, Ryan here at MandRproductions, and thanks to Fantasy, they've sponsored another video and sent over 3 more of their latest building sets for me to review on the channel. And I've reviewed a lot of sets on their channel, but there's one set today that I think I'm more excited about than all of the rest. The first set they sent is the Sherlock Holmes apartment. This set has 1,088 pieces and costs $60. There's an even bigger Sherlock Holmes set here with the Baker Street apartment building. This one has 3,087 pieces for $120. And the final set is part of the Fantasy Retro collection, and perhaps because of its uniqueness or just how fun it looks to me, I am very excited about this Gumball machine. And this set has 892 pieces for $80. Now, if you're watching this and decide you want to try out some Fantasy brick building sets, go to the link in the description below and you can get 15% off your purchase by using my code MandRprod. You should also know that Fantasy and I are collaborating over on Instagram to give away a free Fantasy Sherlock Holmes apartment set. You'll have a week to enter from the day this video goes live until August 2nd. You just have to follow Fantasy and myself, like the post about the giveaway, and then tag 2 friends in the comments section of that giveaway post. Anyway, I'm very excited to dig into our first Fantasy Sherlock Holmes set. 221B Baker Street. This thing is massive. It's basically like another giant modular. It's quite incredible looking on the front of the box there. So let's dive into this thing. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but the building that this Fantasy set is based off is actually based on a real building in London, the Sherlock Holmes Museum. Just a pretty interesting fact I learned recently. This thing is stuck, all right? Not a lot of box bloat, as Leo Kim Video would say on this one. Look at the plates. All right, nice. This box was stuffed with parts. It has, I think this set had over 3,000 pieces, so like, no surprise here, I guess, but holy crap, that is a lot of bags. I think this build has at least 12 numbered bags. There's a lot here. I don't know if I even want to count. Manual number 1, manual number 2. Is there a third? Because I don't even know if that's enough. They do get a lot of steps on each page though, but for the build as big as this is, these manuals are extremely small feeling. As a special gift to me, Fantasy actually sent me 5 extra figures to go with this Baker Street 221B apartment so I can show them off and show them with the apartment. However, they are not included with the version currently sold on Amazon. So just important to know that, but we're going to take a quick look at him here. First, we've got Sherlock Holmes. He's got an incredibly detailed 360-degree print. Just a fantastic level of detail, and something important for later is that this Sherlock Holmes does not have a second face on the back of his head. Next, we have John Watson, and his outfit colors here really pop. He's got a wonderful 360-degree print for the bottom of his coat. Here's Miss Hudson. She's wearing an apron in her dark blue outfit. My favorite part about this figure is certainly that the strap goes all the way around, even on the side of the torso, and then you can see it tied together on the back of her body. Next up, I think we have Mycroft. He looks like he's straight out of a Western with his awesome cowboy hat and revolver, and we've also got a carriage driver, and he's got his little whip to make the horses go. Here we've got a nicely sized horse and carriage. The horse on the front has some printing detail for the face. There's a seat for your carriage driver. You can sit him down or you can have him stand up at the front, but we'll just sit him down for now. So yeah, he looks pretty cool up there. Really like that. There's some lights on either side of him, and then it's kind of a little bit difficult. It feels like it's just breaking off, but you can take part of the roof off of the carriage, and there's actually a couple seats in there where we can place our Sherlock Holmes figure. We'll just throw him in the middle so it's not too tight. Are we gonna have to take his hat off? Oh, we have to take his hat off. Or we can connect the roof to his hat. I'm not sure. We could do that. I think we definitely have to take his hat off there though. There we go. Okay. It fits if he doesn't have his hat, so maybe you should put a different character inside of there. That's kind of a downside there. I almost forgot to show, of course, it does have wheels, so it can roll around on the ground. The front wheels don't really touch, though, with the horse down, so that's a little bit weird, but you can definitely make him walk, and it's fun, creative play, whatever. This building is absolutely massive, and it's compatible with modulars. It's 24 studs across, 32 studs deep, and it's got the Technic placing there to be able to attach it into other builds, so I love that about it, and I think a lot of people will love this facade. It's based on the museum out in London. Looks amazing compared to the pictures. I mean, it's pretty spot on. The sidewalk in front is simple with a couple of chairs. We've also got 2 main entrances. On the left, you've got a stairway leading up to apartment 221B, and then you've got a stairway leading into the cafe. But before we dive into the interior, I just once more want to look at how beautiful the facade for this is. I love the use of foliage in here. It makes it feel like it's fall. I don't know if that's the intention or not. So I love that. Pretty blank on the sides and back, but there are little features that we'll get into here with doors and little hidden spot there, kind of fun. Starting at the very top, we've got our chimney with some chimney smoke coming out of the top. It looks great with the masonry bricks, and then we've got the skylight. The skylight you could technically, I think, open up. I don't really know why you would want to, but if you do want to open it up like that, they're on clips, so you can get full access to the interior by just taking this entire section off. It obviously, as you just saw, comes off very easily, and now you're inside of the building, and there is a lot going on inside of here. Starting with the smaller of the two bedrooms, we have John's. The bed looks nice, the lamp looks nice, but really the most notable detail is the picture on the wall of him at his wedding. There's a small doorway leading to a small hallway. We've got a stairwell that's going to lead down, but we're not really worried about that right now because there's another doorway that leads to a much larger bedroom. In Sherlock's room, there are tons of printed parts with some insane detail. There's some pieces that we saw on the smaller set that we just looked at. There's the violin with a slightly different design than the other one. There's a desk for him with a little lamp, little coffee mug. I believe it's also a typewriter, but it's a much smaller one than what we saw in the other build. On the print board, there's printed photos of Moriarty and Irene Adler, plus obviously some sticky notes there. So I love that great little detail on the side of the wall. He's got a very similar, if not exactly the same bed to John in the other room, and then there's some extra printed portraits inside. His room is very large. It's very nice to have such a large room for him. So that's kind of all you see on that top level of the building, and so you can remove that level and get into the next level below it. So with the kitchen here, it's much smaller than what we saw in the other set. There's also that window on the side there, kind of interesting, just opens right up, close it right back up, but you can see some experiments maybe going on the table in the middle. And then there's the fridge, which interestingly has a little Easter egg inside of it with a bone. The kitchen definitely looks nice, but it is, like I said, much smaller than the other one, and because of like the high ceilings, you have a little bit of trouble like putting a figure in and out, in my opinion. It's just a little bit tight in a room like this. The living room here is essentially the same layout as the BBC show. We've got the fireplace, and again above it we've got the knife that he uses to open letters. We got that skull with the smaller skull piece. We've also got a couple of chairs that have the Union Jack as pillows, I assume, in there. Again, the Strand magazine print makes a return. A couple of newspaper prints in this. We've got chess, but this time it's actually got little pieces on top of it, so that's a little bit different than what we saw in the other build. And then on the wall we've got the smiley face and bullet hole initials as stickers. They use clear sticker pieces there, so just a couple of things that aren't printed in this set. And then one of my favorite things is the mirror on the side here. The mirror is like a pretty good mirror for a brick built type of set. Oh, and I almost missed it. We've got the deer head again, but yeah, this is a nice sizable room that you're able to place figures in. So that brings us to the bottom floor, and we are right into the cafe, and we've got the entryway for the apartment, on the wall of which there is some art, and at the back there's kind of a crack in the wall, and so that leads to our little treasure chest room at the back here. On top of the treasure chest, there's actually a list of names, so kind of an interesting little thing hidden in the back of the building there. But yeah, let's take a closer look at this very nicely sized cafe. It looks amazing just at first glance. So at all three tables, you got your mustard and ketchup. There's also a clock on the wall. I'm not sure if there's any significance to the time on the clock. There's another nicely printed tile with today's specials, and then there's the actual menu above the counter that looks awesome. You've got the little sink for cleaning some of your mugs behind it. They're kind of drying out above it. There's a little coffee machine off to the right, and then the counter looks great with the cash register, and then we also have a little baked goods sections across the way. And I just love how large it is. It just feels like there's plenty of space here to be able to play around with, put your figures in, do something, you know? It doesn't feel cramped. It doesn't feel like they had to compromise on anything. So I love that there was just plenty of space to be able to do stuff here. So the 221B apartment here is simply amazing, both inside and out. I just personally, the facade is the highlight to me. I just love how great it looks externally, but there's also some great interior details for Sherlock Holmes fans to be able to appreciate. So again, with code MandRprod, getting that 15% off, I think this set is very well worth the money. It's absolutely massive. Moving on to our next set, we have the $60 221B Baker Street diorama. That's a very familiar looking piece there. Fascinating. All right. I love they got these little shiny pieces of tape too. It's always fun. A little real official Fantasy tape. Oh my god, it's been so long. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been so long. I forgot they have really cool pink bags. And in the set, they're numbered 1 to 6, although there are multiple per bag. The instructions are pretty classy feeling. On the back, it even has a sketch of Big Ben there, so pretty nice. On the inside of the manual, we're gonna find quite a write-up about Sherlock Holmes, plus character bios for Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, Mrs. Hudson, and James Moriarty. I also especially love in this manual that they specifically go through some of the Sherlock Holmes references so that you know what it is. Like, they just point out all the little details that you're about to build so that when you're done, you can come back to it and you'll actually know what it is if you didn't know what it was. Anyway, the rest of the instructions are normal building instructions, except the pages are pink. Quite on brand for Fantasy. They have some adverts for some of their other sets in the back, but yeah. Pretty nice manual. First up, we have the Sherlock Holmes figure. He's got the deerstalker hat, which looks nice on top. Overall, I think the detail on this figure is quite nice, and the articulation on these figures is maybe a bit different than you're used to. For this Sherlock Holmes figure, you can see the arms can actually rotate much further out than you might be used to, which looks pretty cool, and the legs just still on like normal hinges, but at the hip joint, you can actually twist it left and right a little bit. That's pretty cool. And then the head, actually, if you pull it up a little bit, you can actually move it left and right, so you can get a little more animation out of these figures, which is really cool. So love that. The one thing I don't like about this figure, though, is that it does have a double-sided face, but you can see both faces by just twisting the figure around. So I think that looks a little bit weird. John Watson here has a crowbar as an accessory. We've got the blonde hair. He's got a nice mustache. Love the bow tie there in red. Same articulation that we showed over on Sherlock Holmes. And then if you remove his hairpiece, he does have a second facial expression, and it is covered up, so it doesn't look as funky as Sherlock Holmes. So not a bad figure. Dressed in all purple with a white apron, we have Mrs. Hudson. She's the landlady, and she's got a little teapot. Looks nice. I like the facial expression. We've got a second facial expression on the other side of the head. And I think the best part about this figure is that the printing detail for the apron actually wraps around 360 degrees on the figure as she ties it to her back. So really love that little extra detail on that figure. Finally, we have the villain, James Moriarty. I want to key in on that blaster. It might look familiar to some of you guys out there. But yeah, this guy looks pretty cool, very sharp looking, and definitely looks like the bad guy in the set, so I think they executed him pretty well. Moving on to the build for this set, I think this one is based off the Sherlock Holmes Museum on Baker Street in London, so it is jam-packed with detail, and I think we're going to go room by room, but first, I just want to show how this set is connected. So you have 3 separate sections that are built, you know, one by one. And so for the little kitchen room here, it's actually connected with some Technic pieces, and so it can stay on pretty well. The only issue with that is it slightly like disconnects on this end, so for some reason that's a problem. But for the other room, it's actually just connected with a couple of clips, and so it's a little bit easier to fold in and get to stay where it's supposed to stay without it having a little extra gap there. So just the smallest of issues that I noticed with this set. And as far as stability goes, you have a couple different ways it's connected. Like, you might be worried about picking it up, but you can actually just pick the whole set up just like that, no problem. So that's definitely a good thing. I was a little bit worried about that. Not that it's a set you'll be moving around a lot, but if you ever do have to move it, you shouldn't have to worry too much as long as you're smart about it. So when it comes to this kitchen or dining room, it kind of reminds me of one of those first sets that they sent me. I think it was the cabin, and I love just how intricate their interior detail work was. That is still the same here with Fantasy. We'll start with the curtains. I think they look fantastic, just about perfect for a brick-built scale. We also have some newspaper on the ground, which is a nice touch. And by the way, you'll see it throughout this review here, but everything in this particular set, I think, is printed, no stickers at all. So tons of printed tiles, which is fantastic. You have a microscope, some food cooked by Mrs. Hudson. We also have some chairs. Now, chairs don't really hold like a figure in. We'll just use Miss Hudson here as an example. It's a little bit awkward. They can fall out. So the chairs aren't like really designed very well to hold a figure in them, but they still look really nice. You can still have like Miss Hudson stand off to the side though and be pouring tea wherever. And then finally, you have like the kitchen setup. You've got the stove, the range hood. We've got a sink. It just looks wonderfully detailed. And above all that, above the cupboards, we actually have some printed tea parts. So I really think the kitchen is super well done, super well detailed, and it's only the small section that we have. Next, we have the living room, and I'll show you the exterior of it first. You can see some nice detail on this section here, but this section is just mostly like blank dark red. Now, if you look to the interior, it has a very nice carpet, first and foremost, built into the hardwood design. Gotta love the reflective gold edges on that. They've also got a micro chess set up. We've got a little map. There's different letters and newspapers on the ground throughout the build. At the very front next to the table, we've got some music, and there's actually the violin at the back of the build that Sherlock likes to play, so that's kind of cool to have in the back. Although the problem with this, it's the only part in this entire set, so like, I guess get her out of here, but like if you flip this over, nothing falls off. If you flip this over, nothing falls off. But if the violin was in there, it would, I keep dropping it, it would fall off because it's not actually connected to anything. I don't think it's like a bad thing. I just thought it was interesting that it's the only part in the set that doesn't have like a spot to connect to. In the very back corner, again, we've got more shiny gold. That's always fun. We've got this very nice bookcase. You can open it up and kind of get into it. Obviously at this scale, a little bit tight. There's a beautifully built fireplace with his knife that he uses to open letters. We've got the metronome in the middle, and then kind of awkwardly, it's a printed skull. They didn't use like a minifigure headpiece for the printed skull. They used a, I guess, smaller cylinder piece, so kind of an interesting difference there in part usage, but definitely looks cool up there. The other highlight of this room are the 2 chairs in the middle where you can place Watson and Sherlock on top of. They don't have studs to like hold on to them, so they could just fall off. I think the one thing I would have loved to see added onto this is, so like here for like the music stand, for example, there's a stud where it was. Like another stud or two to be able to have minifigures walking around the room easily would, I think, be a nice addition to a build like this, but otherwise I think this room looks great. Now the chair in front of the typewriter actually has studs that will hold the figure down, which is definitely great. That's what I was looking for out of the other chairs. But yeah, you can have a figure use the typewriter. That's sick. We've also got a deer head with a headset on it, which is like super funny looking to me, but yeah, I guess that's there. And then more curtains, little slightly different design than the curtains that we saw in the kitchen over here. And then finally there's a little couch and more printed detail that you can see on the wall of the set. So to me, this is a really cool, cheaper end Sherlock Holmes display set, certainly compared to the larger model that we're about to take a look at, but it's got so much detail packed inside that it's really fun to look at, and plus you can set the characters up in whatever fun way that you want. So I think this is something that's really nice and will fit very well and easily on a shelf that you might already have without having to move too many things around. Like its height isn't too high, it's not too wide, it's not too deep. So if you're a really big fan of the Sherlock Holmes novels, this set with all of its insane details and its ease of display because of its size, it'll just fit on an already existing shelf. I think it's a really good pickup. We got our third and final set here, the Gumball machine. This thing is so cool looking. All right, let's see what we got inside of this thing. Ooh. There's some silver and gold pieces. Coin! Of course there's coins included, but I gotta say, there's coins. More, whoa. It's like those Easter eggs that you buy at like Target around Easter, but they're tiny because they're gumballs. I don't know, is it proper to wear one? And your instruction manual here, I have fortunes. You're gonna get a fortune. It is never too late to be what you might have been. I think I've had 18 fantasy sets at this point, and I'm fully convinced that this one is my favorite of all time. It's just so fun looking. These are your fantasy brick coins. They're nicely printed on the metallic silver, looks great, and they are what you're gonna need to be able to get your gumballs out. Obviously they aren't real gumballs, so you're not getting actual gum, but inside of them they have little brick-built toys, or they have fortunes, so kind of like a fortune cookie. Now, if we look at the very front of it, it's got this very beautifully printed tiling here. Looks great, just extra detail that maybe wasn't necessary, but they really went the extra mile on. And so below that, you can actually pull this out. This is where your coins get deposited to when you drop them in. I suppose the inside mechanism isn't that simple for getting the gumballs out, as you can see. And take the coin, place it in here, twist it, it'll grab a gumball, and you keep twisting all the way through, and it drops out one gumball. This one actually has a fortune. Let's see what we get. You have to kind of squeeze them together to pop them apart, but they will pop apart. It says, love yourself first, and then everything falls into line. So that is our first fortune. What did we get this time? A little toy. It's a little gingerbread house. So that one is pretty fun. So yeah, you either get a little toy or you get a little fortune. And I love that it's something that's kind of mixed and you just never know what you're gonna get. And you can twist this all day until you run out of gumballs. So we get another little toy there, little teapot. Maybe that's from the Sherlock Holmes set. That reminded me of the other downside of this set. The top part doesn't attach very well onto the top of the gumball machine's like glass. So what I've been doing is I'll just place this on top loosely because you can't really get it to connect to all 4 spots that the studs are on, and I'll just let it be there because there's just really no way to work around it. And then when you want to take it off, you just pull it off and you can take like little gumballs and place them back in. That's how you reload it. It's quite simple. Anyway, the mechanism, I don't think, at least in my experience, will like get caught with multiple at once. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. And I want to say there's probably another good 7 or 8 fortunes in there, but if you want to find out what your fortune is, you'll of course have to buy the set from Pantasy and use code MandRprod to get 15% off. It definitely has a couple of shortcomings with, you know, this not being attached, and sometimes you have to shake it around to get the balls to feed into the mechanism, but overall I think it looks so cool and is such a unique display piece that I had a couple people comment to me when they saw it for the first time. They were like, I didn't realize that was like a brick built thing. I thought that was just a real machine that you bought. And I'm like, no. It's actually a Pantasy like building set. It's made out of bricks. A lovely little Gumball machine, a set that I was so hyped when I found out I was getting, and I think it's pretty much lived up to that hype for me. Pantasy has definitely provided me with 3 of their best sets today. We've got the Sherlock Holmes building that looks fantastic. We've got the actual apartment little diorama that is a great smaller display, and the Gumball machine, which is like completely different than what we see here, but is very fun in its own right. So I think Pantasy's got 3 fantastic sets here and is continuing to do some very fun and creative things. I love this Gumball. Can I tell you, I want one more fortune. Oh, all right, we got a fortune. Let's see what it is. It says you can use the link in the description below if you want to pick up any of these sets from Pantasy and use code MandRprod to get 15% off. So already pretty fairly priced, could be even cheaper with code MandRprod. Again, link in the description, and a big thank you to Pantasy for sponsoring this video and sending over these really good and well done, well detailed sets. Let me know what you guys think about these in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, and you can check out more Pantasy videos on the end screen now.